against campaign, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar burned the Manusmriti in 1927, December 25th. Within 3 years, centenary celebrations would be celebrated. So, in this context, first, communal danger should be mentioned in the point. Second, in a 16 demand, in our concept demands, child marriage, intercaste marriage, not child, intercaste marriages. I propose a small corrections. A couple of got intercaste marriage, their children belongs to either father caste or mother caste. But what purpose we do? So I suggestion to this Presidium and Lakshmi Garu, please intercaste couple children treat as a separate category and allot reservations to them, not caste reservations. They are treated as separate category. Third, Kerala and Tamil Nadu state governments nominated Dalit youth as pujaris or archakas. We demand central government must advise to all state governments to appoint as Dalit youth as archakas or pujaris. And also, scheduled caste people more than 50% are agricultural laborers. In 17 demands, there is no mention on agriculture workers. And we demand the Menraga. Menraga allotment is decreasing year to year. So, BJP government should increase Menraga funds and allotted 200 days for working days. And also, Indian constitution is more danger in BJP rule, in Manwadi rule. So, we propagate Manusmriti and Manwadi rule in all over India and save constitution. Thank you to the dais.
हिंदुस्तान के अंदर हर कोने पे इधर आया हुआ डेलीगेट सेशन को मैं पहले बधाई देता हूँ। भाई लोगों, आज ये हमारे समिट में हिंदुस्तान के अंदर 25 to 30 करोड़ पीपल है, वो दलित लोग हैं। आफ्टर 70 इयर्स ये तमाम लोगों रोज़ाना काम करने के काम नहीं है, खेती करने के लैंड नहीं है, पढ़ने के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ नहीं है। इसके बारे में हम लोग मिलके सोचना पड़ता। अभी पूरा हिंदुस्तान का अंदर एक खतरा पैदा हुआ। हम लोग सब लोगों को मालूम है, बीजेपी हिंदू फैसिज्म ब्राह्मणिकल हिंदू ऑर्डर को लागू कर रहा। अगर 2024 में तीसरी बार बीजेपी सत्ता में आए तो वो पूरा हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो दलित लोगों को लेते पिछड़े वर्ग लोगों को दिया गया वो राइट्स पूरा चले जाता। अभी हम लोगों को इतिहास मालूम है, वो इतिहास के बारे में दशावतार में 11 अवतार में बुद्धा को ले लिया। अभी डॉक्टर B.R. अम्बेडकर जी को 12 अवतार के लिए आज बहुत एफर्ट कर रहा। मनुवाद का थ्योरी ले वो वो मनुस्मृति हर सेक्टर में लाने के लिए वो बहुत एफर्ट्स कर रहा। पहले कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स डॉक्टर B.R. अम्बेडकर चेयरमैन के वो टाइम पे हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में है। ये 75 इयर्स के बाद में भी अभी तक भी वो लागू करने का मौका नहीं मिला। ज़मीन नहीं है, एजुकेशन नहीं है, हेल्थ नहीं है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट नहीं है। वो पूरी इसको लेने के लिए सब लोग सब ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस इकट्ठा करके हम लोग लड़ाई करना वो ज़रूरी टास्क होना चाहिए। इसके वो कॉन्टेस्ट में अभी दलित समिट चल रहा। वो इसको आज ये समिट में हम लोग वो प्रोग्राम लिया, उसको आगे बढ़ने के लिए सब लोग कोशिश करना बोल के मेरे को समय देने से रिसेप्शन कमेटी को थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Now, I request Professor Thorat, Professor Sukhdev Thorat, our prominent educationist and professor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, and he was the former chairman of University Grants Commission. And his role, you know, the consistent role for the emancipation of Dalits and other socially marginalized sections of the society. We know him, and he is with us now. And just in this session, he is our chief guest. And now, I request Professor Thorat to enrich us with his valuable speech addressing our delegates in this National Summit of Dalits. Now, Professor Thorat will give his speech to us. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to all of you, all the participants, Malapalli Lakshmaiya, Ramchandra Dome, other distinguished people sitting on the dais, and all the participants. I have been told that altogether there are 24 states which are participating. There are 318 delegates are here to participate, 85 associations, and of the total participant, about 31 are women delegates. This is a very important participation in this National Dalit Summit at Hyderabad. Let me begin with a profound thanks to the organizer to invite me here and to be a part of your deliberation and discussion. I hope I'll be able to contribute something. I was told by Lakshmaiya and Malapalli that this conference is basically will focus on or focuses on 2-3 aspects. One is that the ultimate agenda is what should be the agenda and the issues that should form or constitute the 2024 election. When we say issue, we necessarily say that what are the problems which still persist as far as the Dalits are concerned. To be able to do that, I think we need to discuss 2-3 things. One is that what is the progress that Dalit have made so far? अब तक कितनी तरक्की हुई है दलितों में? Secondly, if they lag behind as compared to others, what are the reasons? यदि उनकी तरक्की जितनी होनी चाहिए थी उतनी हुई नहीं, अभी वो और के तुलना में पीछे है, तो उसके कारण क्या है? And the third issue is then what are the policies? What policies we should suggest? Revised policies we should suggest for their economic, social and political empowerment. We should form the agenda, we should form the task for the 2024 election. So these are the 3 issues that I would like to discuss with you at a all India level. Now, you know that the problem of former untouchable, or in government language the scheduled caste or the Dalit, is very difficult problem, and it is different from the other poor. Their problem of poverty is similar to that of other, but their problem is also different because they are being treated as untouchable, they are being treated as low caste. Historically, their problem has been that about at least 2,500 years they did not have right to property, that is to own land or to start a business, except the inferior business, artisan business. So they did not have a ownership right to the major means of production, land and the entrepreneurs, non-farm enterprises or business. And they did not have right to education. They did not have right to employment in the occupation of the high caste, better quality employment. So these were the denial, basically denial of right to land, denial of right to enterprises, denial of right to regular salary, good employment in the occupation of high caste. But there is only one that way they were allowed, rather forced, and that was manual wage labor for all the 4 castes above them. And that manual wage labor was not a free labor, it was a attached labor, forced labor, and now we have a lot of evidence that it was a slave labor. There is a book by Sanal Mohan from Kerala, who has for the first time brought out that untouchables were a slave labor, and very pathetic and very bad life. And then during the British period there was also a law commission which banned slavery in 1843, but the law commission went all over India, and this commission also took the same position that the untouchable were slave labor. Now there is a difference between slave and free labor. Slave labor means you are a property of the owner and anything can be done. Very worse kind of behavior they present. I do not want to go into that, but that is the background. Now one thing that we must understand, यह हमें समझ लेना चाहिए, that untouchability began somewhere around 400 AD in Manusmriti, and later. And untouchability was literally banned in 1950. So you can see that about 2,500 years, the untouchability was in practice, and the untouchable did not have right to property, right to enterprises, right to education and employment. And of course they did not have civil rights. The normal civil right, access to well, access to road, access to religious participation, so they did not have civil right. The important point that you should remember is that right from AD 400 to 1950, they did not have this right. So during the ancient period, during the medieval period, and during the British period also, the first British law was passed in 1772 by East India Company. And if you read the law, first law passed by the East India Company, that law says that as far as the Hindus are concerned, their rights, economic right and social right will be according to the caste. And for Muslim it will be according to the Quran. So you can see that during the British period also there was no relaxation, there were no rights. There was marginal relaxation. In some area they had entry into military, but they have no entry into police and education. The point is that up to 1950, the untouchable did not have that right. It is only the constitution which overturned the caste system and untouchability and guaranteed the untouchable equality before law, equal opportunity, non-discrimination. Untouchability was banned in the constitution. And then of course there were follow Act, Untouchability Offence Act in 1955, Atrocity Act in 1989. Now, so therefore the situation of untouchable is different from the other poor, and therefore they are the most depressed and oppressed group. Now, we recognize this. The country recognized at the time of Constitution. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar started his movement in 1919, and because of his anti-caste movement and because of his political and social movement, several policies were introduced. And those policies which he struggled very hard, political reservation in employment, educational empowerment, and other, they were finally incorporated into Indian Constitution. Now, as on today, we have 5 type of policy. Let us talk about the policy a little bit. We have 5 type of policies for the scheduled caste, and these policies were then extended to scheduled tribes, OBC, partly for women, partly for Muslim, and nomadic and denotified tribe, and now of course economically weaker section also. But what are these policies, and to what extent they have brought the change, that we will be very briefly discuss. The policies that we have, one is the legal safeguard against the untouchability and caste discrimination. So we have law, Untouchability Offence Act of 1955, which was renamed as a Protection of Civil Rights Act in 79. So under this act, if anybody practice untouchability, an individual can go to the court and get the justice. Later on, the government find that whenever untouchable try to seek the equal right, there was opposition by the high caste, but that opposition was violent, and therefore government brought another act that is called Atrocity Act. That the act prohibit any physical action on the part of the high caste. 35 forms of behavior of the high caste are considered to be atrocious or include atrocity and are subject to punishment. So these are the legal safeguards which are given to the untouchable against discrimination, and we have these 2 laws in practice. Now we can see to what extent untouchability has reduced, to what extent violence has been reduced. I'll come to that later. The second policy is of course reservation, that the untouchable face discrimination, and therefore in order to give, they should have also have a fair share like others, and to give a fair share it was necessary that they get fair share through a policy and legally. And it was decided that at least let us give them the share according to the population. If they constitute 16%, give them 16% post. So second policy is of course employment is reservation in employment. Only public employment, private sector is excluded. Private sector constitute 80% of the job in this country. Public sector constitute only 20%. Only in 20% you have reservation. Then there are policies which are not strictly speaking reservation policy, but policies for economic empowerment. So untouchable were denied right to land. As a result, the proportion of landless laborers is very high, and therefore a program of land distribution was taken by all the government. I don't want to go into this. Some have taken in one form, others have taken in another form. Telangana has taken a very bold step of giving 5 acres of land. But to what extent it is successful, we will see. The people from Maharashtra have given me this, that there are 2 lakh people cultivating the Gairan land, and the government of Maharashtra has taken decision to evict them. But there is a policy where let us give them land. Then there is a policy to give them financial support to start businesses. And also, the most important thing is to give a financial assistance for educational development. So this is a policy of economic and educational empowerment, which is not strictly speaking reservation. Reservation in education institution come under reservation. But economic and educational empowerment is also a policy which is taken by different government. This is the 3rd measure. There are 2 more measures that Dr. Ambedkar has suggested, that we have reservation in politics, of course, that comes under reservation, but also we have institution, ministries of welfare in all the state, in order to give the share to the scheduled caste in policy making, because others do not take as much interest as scheduled caste would take. So set up a ministry, have the scheduled caste minister as far as possible, and generally you have, and then you have the commission for scheduled caste. So we have created organization also. So these are the 5 policies, broadly speaking. That is the legal safeguard against discrimination, reservation policy in employment, legislature and education institution, public housing to give them the share, and then policies for economic empowerment, giving them the land and promote entrepreneurship and business among them. Also give them the share in executive, that is to have a ministry and ministers and policy making bodies, and finally special institution. Now these are the policies that have been practiced right from 1950. Now let me very briefly then go to this. What is the impact of that policy? Where do the scheduled caste stand today in 2020? How much they have advanced and how much more they need to be advanced in order to bring them on par with others. So we will see. हम देखेंगे कि उनकी गरीबी कैसी कम हुई, एजुकेशन कैसे बढ़ा, माल न्यूट्रिशन घटा, हाउसिंग की क्या स्थिति है, civic amenities की क्या स्थिति है. So we will look into this some of the aspect. Now, how do we see the economic well-being of any group? The economic well-being of any group can be studied, that whether the group has the income, whether the group is able to eat enough, whether they have education achievement, whether the civic amenities are available in their localities. These are some of the indicators of human development, well-being of the people. So the first indicator is per capita income. That if a person has some income in his hand or in his or her hand, then you can buy food, you can send your children to the school, you can buy clothes, you can construct house. So income is very important indicators, per capita income is very important indicators of human development. Now for you, if you take the per capita income indicator of this scheduled caste, what you find is that the per capita income of the scheduled caste is the lowest compared to the OBC and high caste and even national average. So although there has been an improvement in the income of the scheduled caste because of reservation policy and general economic development, they still lag behind the higher caste. I just want to give you is that the per capita income of the scheduled caste is half of that of high caste. जितना इनकम पर कैपिटा इनकम हाई कास्ट का है, जिसमें ओबीसी भी आता है, उच्च जाति का भी आता है, उसका आधा शेड्यूल कास्ट का है. तो अभी भी हम गैप जो है वो भर नहीं पाए हैं. Now, this is an average figure per capita income, but we have some other indicator called poverty. So you should have enough income whereby you can meet your basic necessity like food and housing and other thing. And the Indian government measure whether you are poor or non-poor. poor do not have enough income to meet their requirement. They are supposed to be in poverty. Now, if you look at the poverty figure, the latest figure are 2011-12. You will say 2012 and 12 is very old. Yes, it is old. There was a survey in 2017 and 18. But the government discovered that the poverty did not decline. Poverty has increased marginally. In the 75-year history of India, for the first time, an indication was there that the poverty has not declined and increased. So the report was suppressed. No, there is something wrong with the report. So we will do resurvey. The resurvey has been done, but the government is not yet bringing out report on poverty. But I tell you, even the 2011-12 poverty level is similar to that of even present. There has not been much change in the poverty. That's a very sad and disappointing situation. But even if you take the poverty, what you discover is that the poverty of the scheduled caste is 3 times more than the high caste. 30% poor among the scheduled caste, while 9% among the high caste. All India level is about 22%. So you can see that the poverty level among the scheduled caste is very high. Now I want to tell you one point here, because we are there are many organizations here, left organization, organizer are also there, that even if you take the laborer from high caste, OBC and high caste, and laborer from the scheduled caste, there should not be any difference between them in poverty, because they are laborer, landless laborer working as a manual laborer, and yet you discovered that the poverty level of the scheduled caste wage laborer, casual wage laborer, is higher than that of the high caste casual wage laborer, which means there is some problem. That problem is discrimination in hiring and wages and employment. So this you must understand, the scheduled caste wage laborers' problems are also slightly different than that of high caste laborer. Although they are similar, but there is a difference there, because they suffer from discrimination in employment. This should be kept in mind. Now, so this is the situation you can see as far as the per capita income and poverty is concerned. The scheduled castes are at the bottom of the caste hierarchy. Of course, the tribals are more worse. That is there. But we are comparing about the high caste, since we are discussing the issue of Dalit. Now, the poverty and per capita income give you aggregate. It doesn't tell you the real power, real situation of the Dalit. ये सिर्फ इतना बताता है कि इतने गरीब है और इतना इनकम है, लेकिन उनकी सही स्थिति क्या है? What is the housing situation? What is the health situation? What is the drinking water situation? What is the drainage situation? This data doesn't tell you. Therefore, I give it to you, and many social scientists then go in greater detail. So if you take health, what is the health situation? If you are poor, if you do not have enough to eat, you develop anemia. You are hungry. Your children are underweight. The children will die at the time of birth, or after 1 year, or after 5 years, because mother doesn't have enough to eat, because poor. So the health scientists, health people then go into the indicator of health. So they measure what is called child mortality. How many children died at birth, after 1 year, after 5 years. This is called mortality rate. Now I don't want to go into greater detail. I just want to tell you that if you take the children's mortality rate among the scheduled castes, it is very high. It is high compared to the high caste, compared to OBC, and even compared to the all India average. Because they are more poor. They do not have enough to eat. So they remain weak, anemic. Even if you take the anemia figure of 5-year children, or even women, you find that the women and children are more anemic among the scheduled caste. There are other indicators. I don't want to go into that. Stunting growth of the children is also measured. This is the situation as far as health is concerned. Hungry, malnutrition, undernutrition. Then you take the education, for example. This is another indicator. Education is very important. Now, even if you take education, what you discover is that the enrollment rate of scheduled caste at the higher education level is 21%, while high caste is 41%, double the difference. Education development should have been at a faster rate so that the gap between scheduled caste and high caste get reduced, but no. Now there are reasons, of course. Now you see, increasingly we come to know about the discrimination of the scheduled caste in higher education institution. I'll come to that when we go to the sources. Let me complete first the situation, because we should understand. And this is all official data. Housing situation of the scheduled caste is also bad. For example, if you say the national sample survey define good housing, bad housing. So if you take bad houses, about 18% of the scheduled caste live in bad houses. This proportion is 11% for OBC, 7% for high caste. So again, large proportion of the scheduled caste live in bad houses. But within the housing, worse housing is slum. And at all India level, 7% of the people live in slum. But the proportion of scheduled caste living in slum is 13%, double all India average. And the proportion of high caste living in slum is 4%. So 3 times higher scheduled caste live in slum compared to high caste or even all India average or OBC. That is the worst situation as far as the housing is concerned. Now in the housing there are 2-3 other indicators. I won't spend more time on that. That whether you have a latrine at home, whether you have a drinking facility at home, whether you have a drainage facility, whether you have a bathroom, or you use public bathroom, or you take a bath in the open. In all these respects, scheduled caste situation is lower. This is despite the scheduled caste component plan. You know, in scheduled caste component plan, there is something called special assistant. Special component plan is there, but there is an additional assistant, what is called special assistant. That assistant is given for the scheduled caste locality, to have a road, to have a drinking water, to have a drainage, and yet you see the situation of the scheduled caste is poor compared to the high caste. Now, the impact of all this bad health is all impact of bad health, that you do have low income, that you are poor, that you don't eat enough food, so therefore you are the anemic and underweight. It all falls on the life expectancy. And if you look at the life expectancy, then what you see is that at all India level, the average life expectancy is 57. But the scheduled caste is 55. OBC is 57 and others is 60. So scheduled caste live 5 years less compared to high caste and 2 years less compared to all India. So the impact of all this poverty and malnutrition is on the life expectancy. Scheduled caste people die early compared to the high caste and compared to all India. So now this is the story that this tells you the challenge that you have. That the gap between scheduled caste and OBC and high caste remain high. Even the poor from the high caste and poor from the scheduled caste are different intensity. Now the second question is then why? Constitution guarantee equality before law, Constitution guarantee equal opportunity, Constitution guarantee non-discrimination, and you have a law, and yet scheduled caste in last 75 years have not been able to come on par with the high caste. And that was the goal of all policy making. Now the reasons are, there are 2 reasons. Again, I want to reduce the time. There are 2 reasons for why scheduled caste still remained behind. One is, of course, a general reason which is applicable to the high caste poor also. That one reason is that you don't have a means of production which gives you income, or we call capital asset. So what are the capital asset? One is land for the people in rural area. Second is the business or industry. And third is regular salaried employment. So if you don't have a land and if you don't have a self-employed entrepreneurship, then your income will be certainly low. Now, this can be measured by one particular indicator: land ownership, building ownership and all that. Now, friends, the government of India conduct a survey after every 10 years, what is called wealth in survey. Latest is 2030, 2017 is on. Of the total wealth in the country, which include land, building, machineries, transport, and also financial investment, mutual fund and all that, gold, if you take all that wealth in the country, the share of the high caste is 45%, while their population is only 21%. OBC share in the total wealth is 31%, while their population is 36%. And scheduled caste share is only 7% as compared to 18% of their population or 20% of their population, 3 times less. So the high caste own almost several times more wealth, land and building and other thing as compared to the scheduled caste. So although the ownership of scheduled caste has improved because of some economic empowerment policy, but still their share in the wealth is very, very less compared to others. So your income earning assets are also less. So if you take the average wealth at all India level, the average wealth per household is 15 lakh. For the high caste it is 29 lakh. For the OBC it is 13 lakh. And for scheduled caste is 6 lakhs. So the scheduled caste wealth is at least 4 to 5 times less than high caste. Now, so this is the one reason that you don't have the permanent sources of income. So what do? You depend on employment. Now I am skipping through rural and urban and everything. I have also the data with me that the scheduled caste ownership of entrepreneurship, businesses, factories, organized and unorganized, is much less compared to the high caste. And whosoever own, they own only household enterprises, artisan, cobbler, carpenter, and similar kind of artisan occupation whose income is very, very low. So that is the one important point that you must understand, that the traditional restriction on the ownership of property under the caste system on the scheduled caste is even reflected today. Okay, they don't have property, but if they have employment, that is good enough. They will have income. What is the situation with respect to regular salaried employment? The regular salaried employment is 18% among scheduled caste. Of the total worker, 18% among scheduled caste, 32% among OBC, and 30% among high caste. So low. So 82% they depend on, they are non-salaried casual labor. Now, since your employment in regular salary is low, you depend on casual labor, manual labor. So today, this is very important, please remember, of the total scheduled caste worker, 41% are casual labor. This proportion is just 9% from high caste. Now, as a result of which, since you are casual labor, your income is low, now you get the reason why they are more poor. So, the scheduled caste then continue to work as a casual labor in higher proportion because the ownership of capital asset is less, which means there is some problem with the policies. Now, this is one factor, that ownership of factors of income is less among them compared to the high caste. The another factor is, and that you must understand and I must emphasize before you, is that that factor is the caste discrimination. And that distinguishes, the caste discrimination problem distinguishes the scheduled caste from the other caste. It also distinguishes from the higher non-scheduled caste regular worker, non-scheduled caste casual worker. Dr. Ambedkar said in Annihilation that caste system is not a regular division of labor, it is division of laborer. If the scheduled caste casual labor and non-scheduled caste casual labor are casual labor, why should be a difference between the two? The poverty rate should be the same, income should be the same. But that is not the case simply because there are caste specific problem of scheduled caste, which are not the problem of high caste laborer. And therefore discrimination is very important. Now some of the studies now bring out that the scheduled caste worker, casual laborer, regular salaried labor, farmer, producer face discrimination which the high caste laborer do not face. In fact, he might get the advantage of his caste background. If the employer is the high caste and laborer is from the high caste, he might get a preference in hiring, but the scheduled caste may not. So this discrimination problem, I think you are from all organizations, particularly left organization, you must understand the unique problem of the scheduled caste, why they remain backward. Now, I do not want to go into greater detail, but the studies that we have done, I have done particularly, others have done, they discover that there is a huge discrimination of the scheduled caste in hiring, in the private sector. In public sector is less, but in the private sector the discrimination is very high. बहुत ज़्यादा भेदभाव hiring में और employment में होता है. High caste, OBC and scheduled caste, all are equally qualified. For example, if you take equally qualified, education सरीका है, parent का education सरीका है, family members सरीके है, or still you will find that the high caste will be preferred for hiring and scheduled caste will not, because of discrimination in hiring. Our study shows that the discrimination in hiring is very high. Now, I do not want to go into that. In rural area, the untouchable face problem in hiring because of untouchability, which high caste do not. High caste get an advantage. For example, untouchable are not employed in rural area, even in cities, as a domestic cook. You know story of Pune. You know, one Maratha lady was working with a Brahmin woman, and it was discovered after 15-20 years, her caste, the Brahmin lady went to the court that she has suppressed her caste background. So domestic work, vegetable processing, because you have to touch the vegetables, milking of cow. So these are the kind of work which require physical touch. The untouchable worker will not get, high caste worker will get a job. Who will be the domestic cook? High caste, not the scheduled caste. So this problem of scheduled caste worker, scheduled caste laborer should be understood, and you will have to address, and you are addressing it, but you must understand where they suffer from discrimination. They also suffer from occupation. Now there are other things, that is the scheduled caste farmer also suffer. My book is now coming very soon, how scheduled caste farmers suffer vis-a-vis the high caste or OBC farmer. They face problem in buying of input. No high caste will give them the bullock. No high caste laborer will go and work with the low caste untouchable farm. It is below their dignity. They will not get manure. They will not get two-well irrigation from the high caste. So the scheduled caste farmer face problem in getting the input which are necessary for production. Also they face discrimination in sale. They have to sell at low price. But most discrimination is faced by the entrepreneurs in villages. In cities also they face. But in rural area, I have done a study. I have taken 3 entrepreneurs: restaurant, eateries, transport, and grocery shop. In grocery shop, discrimination is very high. Very few high caste will buy the kirana shop from the shop of the scheduled caste. The scheduled caste shop owner will not get a place in the market. They will have to start the shop in their locality. And so high caste do not buy. So their demand is low. So the scheduled caste entrepreneur, grocery owner only has their customer of their only caste, which is limited. So profit is less, income is low, they close down the mill. Same is the experience I have seen for the transport. The scheduled caste auto owner and taxi owner, they experience is that a high caste would not hire their taxi or auto. It is their own caste people. They prefer their caste autos and taxis. So I think I will particularly talk to address to you organization that please take the issues of discrimination even by the farmer. You are talking about farmer. Take the issues of discrimination of the business person belonging to the scheduled caste. They face this problem. Eatery, discrimination in eatery is much more. Restaurant. Will you please stop talking, please? Don't listen to me, but don't talk because it disturbs me. So restaurant. No high caste will go and buy the noodles from the scheduled caste restaurant. So their sale is low, income is low, they run into losses. Now these are genuine problem of the scheduled caste which we must understand. You have to take on your agenda. You require policies. I suggest policies soon. But you must understand the scheduled caste discrimination is not only in employment and wages. The discrimination is faced by scheduled caste farmer, scheduled caste businessmen, and therefore you will have to have a policies. Now let me end with the policies then. What are the policies we need? What are their problem in general? The scheduled caste per capita income is low, poor are more, malnutrition, people with malnutrition and children with malnutrition is high, they live in bad housing, greater proportion of them live in slum, drainage facility is poor, and I have not talked about the untouchability. Because I am an economist, I have a bias. I have not talking about how they face untouchability and they are not able to use the public services. I don't want to go into greater detail. I have shared with you economic discrimination. But on an average, 14,000 cases are registered by the scheduled caste every year. 14,000 cases. And there are restrictions to enter into temple, there are restrictions into water tap, there are restrictions in using public road, there are restrictions for the bridegroom to sit on the horse, there are restrictions on using the new cloth, there are restrictions on not putting the cap on the head or goggle. That is the kind of discrimination they face in. And of course residential segregation is always there in village. We are not ashamed of at all. In every village in India, untouchable localities are separate because they are untouchable, not to be touched. High caste worker, those who are landless, they stay in high locality. That is the division that the Marxist parties, Communist parties should understand. That laborer who are landless, both are casual labor, but they live separately. They don't intermarry. They have less social relation. So how proletariat fraternity will be built up? That was the question raised by Ambedkar in Annihilation of Caste. Marx says that there is a fraternity among the workers. Have not. Here have not are divided. They don't intermarry, they don't develop social relation. So there won't be an unity between them unless you take the problem. That is what you are trying to take it. This is the greatest improvement in the Communist Party of India. This was not in the early 50s. Namodripa directly rejected caste. Randive was a lot more progressive. But now in 80s, 90s, 2000, Communist parties are taking a caste issue. I have participated in several functions which are organized by Mrs. Kharat and Sitaram Yechury. Of course, Sitaram Yechury and myself, we were in JNU together. And we worked together on several issues, although we are on separate platform. But caste issue has been accepted by the left parties now, but I am giving you the actual situation. It is not illusionary, it is practice. Let us come to another 10 minutes on the solution. What are the demand that you should place for 2024. First is the despite law discrimination persists. 14,000 cases and discrimination in economics, social, cultural sphere. I think that issue had to be addressed. I do not know how to do that. What Ambedkar said in Annihilation of Caste is that law cannot bring a social change. Law can punish one individual person. If he practice caste discrimination, you can go to the court and punish him. But here community as a whole practice discrimination. Please, sir. Community as a whole practice discrimination. How do you deal with the community? So Dr. Ambedkar said that the notion, ideas and custom which influence their behavior, that need to be changed. So you require an anti-caste movement. That is one you think that you should bring on the agenda. You should identify, for example, Baba Adhav had started one village, one tap water or one well. I am giving one example. In Marathwada region of Maharashtra or in Telangana, there are several villages where untouchable do not have access to temple. They do not have access to well. They do not have access to public road. So, these organizations, one of the demands should be how do you make the untouchability program more effective. You should identify steps and undertake a program. For the government also, I think we have to make suggestion. I will make one suggestion. In a study I did for Maharashtra, I said, why can't you have one secretary for 10 villages whose objective is to stop untouchability? Untouchability free village. We have several things which make atrocity free village, untouchability free village. Let there be like a panchayat secretary. Let there be one person for 10 villages, and his or her job is to remove the untouchability and make the village untouchability free. I think that is one of the demand that you should put on the table. Second, Atrocity Act say that after every 5 years there has to be a survey. We have a survey for poverty, we have a survey for health, we have a survey for many other things. Population survey after 10 years. But why can't we have the untouchability survey, caste discrimination survey after 5 years, so that we know where the untouchability has reduced and when untouchability is still persist. So I think this is the second demand that you should, second proposal, and you should mention as far as the untouchability is concerned. So there are three things I am suggesting. One is the secretary for 10 villages to make the village untouchable free. Second is that there has to be a program. Government should start the program, particularly, and on various organizations also, to change the custom and norms and habit and behavior of high caste. Directly talking to them. Organizing conferences in the villages. That what you are doing is not correct. It is against the constitution. And third one is, of course, that you should have a survey after every 5 years. So these are three suggestions that I make. Now let me come to the reservation policy in employment. There is a straight away demand that you should put reservation in employment in private sector. There is now empirical evidence. I will write an article now because my book has already come. Scheduled caste and labor market, employment discrimination and its impact on poverty. It has come only about a month before. It gives all kind of discrimination in private sector. In fact, it also captures the impact on poverty. Yes, I forgot to tell you that. Because there is a difference between the high caste regular salaried labor and scheduled caste salaried labor. Scheduled caste salaried labor face discrimination in employment and wages. As a result, his employment level is low, wages are low, their income is low, poverty goes up. If there is no discrimination on the scheduled caste, the poverty will reduce by 9%. 2017-18. So by reducing discrimination itself will improve the poverty. So there has to be an agenda on extending reservation to the private sector. Private sector has adopted some policy, but they are not willing to have a law, and they are not willing to have a reservation in hiring, in employment. So the first demand should be that reservation should be extended to the private sector. Two, there has to be some provision for the farmer. They face discrimination in acquiring, buying input, private irrigation, private bullocks. So the government should have some special program for the scheduled caste farmer to give them the loan to buy a bullock, to give them the loan to buy a tractor, to give them the loan to dig the tube well. So policy, affirmative action policy for the farmer. We have never thought of that. They are covered under the general policy, but there has to be special policy for the scheduled caste farmer because they face discrimination. Their problem are different. And secondly, there has to be a policy for the scheduled caste entrepreneurs and business person. We have a policy now, MSME, that is small, medium and micro industries, have a policy that they buy the 4% of their purchases should be from the scheduled caste business person. So reservation in purchases, which USA also has. But there has to be a good policy for the scheduled caste entrepreneurs and the business person, that you can buy from them, you can supply the material that you want, then only their business will come. So these are the two measures that I have suggested, but there are measures for casual labor. Then let me come very briefly to the economic empowerment, and I will stop it here. Economic empowerment is two things. One, give them the land, give them the entrepreneurship, give them the assistance for education. Now what is the situation of the land? Highest landlessness among scheduled castes, even compared to the tribal. Tribal has much better land. All the quality of the land is not good, but they have some better land. But scheduled caste proportion of landless laborer is very high. Near landless laborer is very high. 1.5 acre land. Now land distribution program should be there. Now here is a booklet from Maharashtra where 2 lakh scheduled castes are cultivating iron land, public land, and government say that we will not give you. Nonsensical policy. You don't distribute the land. If scheduled castes are occupying and cultivating the land, why don't you give them? What's the problem with that? Dr. Ambedkar has been asking right from the beginning, and even the Communist Party are asking, distribute the land. Because selling land in legislation has not helped. Tenancy legislation has not helped scheduled castes at all. It helped OBC. So if they are more landless, then give them the public land, at least cultivable wasteland. There is huge cultivable wasteland. They can have a tree cultivation, they can have a flower cultivation, they can have a fruit cultivation, even if the quality is not good. But this cultivable land which is being cultivated by the scheduled castes, the government says that also they will withdraw. So the land distribution program should be on the agenda. That should be one of the demand. And of course promotion of the business, but most important is promotion of the education. The most tragedy of the higher education and school education is the privatization. Reservation there is in the government university and colleges, but government is now converting them into private education institution. As a result, one impact is reservation is gone. Second impact is because the fees is very high, the poor cannot afford. Both scheduled caste and non-scheduled caste cannot afford. You may be knowing that. You may not be knowing that. That in early 50s and early 60s, all our state universities were government. What is the proportion of the private university today? About 45% of our universities are private. About 65% of our colleges are private. 67% of standalone institutions which give skill education are private. Fees is very high. What do you do? How poor will afford? I have statistics, I don't want to bother you. But this is not the story of UP and Maharashtra and Karnataka where privatization level is high. This is also story of Kerala. This also, Kerala minister is sitting here, social welfare minister. This is the story of West Bengal. Now as a result, poor suffer. So you have to have a scholarship and proper loan facilities to give it to the poor people. Today the loan facility is what? Go to the commercial bank and take the loan, education loan. They want security. Well, education loan is a loan like anything, any other loan. You should create a separate corporation. Ask for the corporation. This is one of the demand. As a UGC chairman, I went to Canada And they made a presentation to me from the education corporate foundation. And they say that we give low interest free loan to anybody who want. And then they return after they get the job in 15 year or 20 year. So every poor also can have an access to education. So we should ask for this is one of the demand that you should have. I will note it down and give it to you. This is one of the demand that there should be a public corporation giving funding and giving loan to the poor section of the society, interest free, returnable after the job is there on a convenient installment basis. Now these are some of the suggestions for economic empowerment, but I will make one point. The economic empowerment, land distribution, entrepreneurship, education, development and all that, they are landless, they are without entrepreneurship, they are illiterate simply because they were denied the right for the last 3,000 years. Now we are building a policy of economic empowerment with certain amount of concern, certain amounts of pity, daya. But in other countries there is other justification. It is not pity, it is not sahanubhuti, it is right. And why giving of right, giving of business, giving of loan for education and support is a right simply because the untouchable were denied right and at their cost other enjoyed. The untouchable were denied right to land, but the right to land was given to the Shudra as well as Vaishya and to Kshatriyas and Brahmins at the cost of untouchable. They were denied the production, non-farm production and in business, but it was confined to Vaishya. They were denied right to education, but the education was confined to high caste. And who benefited from the right to education and denial of right to education? It is the Brahmin who benefited. In ancient India, in medieval India, particularly in British India, when the bureaucracy came and they required educated people, who were the educated people? High caste Brahmin, to some extent Kshatriya, not the Vaishya, not the Shudra. Forget about untouchable. So who benefit by denying the right to education is the high caste. High caste benefit at the loss of low caste, loss of untouchable. High caste benefit in land because of denial of right to untouchable. High caste benefit, Vaishya benefit for in business because denial of right to be business to the untouchable. Whenever one group benefit at the cost of other, the policy is reparation, compensation. It is not pity. When you walk on the road with a car and somebody come and hit your car, you ask for compensation. Why? He has caused you harm, your car. Here is also the same story. The untouchables are harmed in terms of denial of right to land, right to business, right to education. I am not talking of social right. Another benefit. So you should pay back. In such a situation, there is something called compensation policy, used in many countries. The African American, the black were compensated after the slavery was over. 40 acres of land in one go it was given, and one mule, 2 horses. Some sort of policy was also created by British in Tamil Nadu, Panchami land. In Maharashtra also Maharvatan land, because they were denied right, but that didn't work very well. So compensation was given to black. Then Jews, billions and billions of money was given to those who were killed in concentration camp, and those who died, the entire money, and there was a record, entire money was given. The relative were not found out, the entire money was given to Israel. The sexually exploited woman in the Second World War from Korea by the Japanese soldier, Japan gave compensation to surviving woman. So there are several cases of compensation. I think we have not considered this case for untouchable. We are doing a study, we will build a case that untouchable should be given compensation for the denial of economic right. Denial of right to land, right to business, right to education. And who will pay? It is the high caste who should pay. The state should pay. State should collect from the high caste. They have enjoyed this right and give it to the untouchable. And high caste, on the contrary, use the opposite argument. Oh, they are given reservation. Merit is affected. They enjoyed the particular jobs. Merit was not there at that time. All Brahmin are educated, all Brahmin are capable. So I think you should, on your demand, I will suggest you should ask for a reparation policy for land distribution and policy for promoting business and policy for promoting education at least. Besides reservation policy is also to some extent with the consideration that scheduled castes were denied this right. But reservation policy is primarily as a protection against discrimination in the present. But reparation policy is compensation for the denied in the past 40,000 years. Now these are some of the measures. There are other measures. I don't want to take time, but I only mention one. That is the political representation. We have today joint electorate for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. Now OBC women at the panchayat level. Dr. Ambedkar was not in favor of this. Joint electorate means there is a constituency which is reserved. A scheduled caste candidate contests, and high caste and scheduled caste give them the vote. High caste being in majority, it is they who decide which scheduled caste candidate will be elected. And that person is generally a person who do not raise any, because he has to oblige by the party and he has to oblige by the high caste, because next year then he or she will not get ticket. Dr. Ambedkar has suggested separate electorate. Now separate electorate means there is a constituency where scheduled caste will stand. Only scheduled caste will elect that person. And it will be double constituency. High caste candidate, low caste candidate. For high caste will vote, scheduled caste will vote. He will be representative of the high caste as well as scheduled caste. But there will be one scheduled caste candidate, only scheduled caste will vote. Then that person will be responsible to the scheduled caste. That I will have to do something for the scheduled caste, otherwise they won't elect me in the next election. But Muslim also had a separate electorate. And Pakistan, after Pakistan was created, Congress was very angry. Patel was very angry that it is separate electorate which led to the partition of Pakistan. Therefore, they took out entire reservation policy for minorities, but political reservation also taken out for minorities. Constitution, remember well, Constitution Assembly has approved reservation for all, religious minority, tribal and scheduled caste. But after the partition, Patel approached the Constitutional Assembly and withdraw the reservation, all reservation to religious minorities. Only exception today are Sikh and the new Buddhist. And also then separate electorate was withdrawn and joint electorate was given. But Dr. Ambedkar also tried a third alternative. And you should ask for that in your demand. That third alternative is qualified joint electorate. It is neither a separate electorate, not a joint electorate, it is a qualified joint electorate. What is qualified joint electorate? It is a via media. That there will be a constituency, joint constituency reserved for the scheduled caste. Only scheduled caste candidate will consider. High caste and scheduled caste and high caste will give the vote to that candidate. That's fine. Similarity, there is no problem. But there is only one difference, that the scheduled caste votes were counted separately and high caste votes were counted separately. And the candidate, out of the 4 or 5 scheduled caste candidates who get more than 30% of scheduled caste vote, will be finally counted for election. Those who get less than that, they are out. So those who get 30% and above vote, in their vote then the high caste vote will be added, and those who get maximum will be declared elected candidate. So there is some protection here. A scheduled caste candidate will think that I have to, every 5 years I have to get 30% of vote of scheduled caste, so I must do something. So this is the via media. I think in your demand you should ask for a qualified joint electorate for the scheduled caste. Friend, these are some of the suggestions. I will give you later on, if you like, in a point by point, and see if you can include it. I thank you very much that you have listened to me carefully. I had to ask some people not to talk, because not that they should listen to my lecture, but because it disturbed me. So I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
So, we are very much grateful to Professor Sukhdev Thoratji. He has enlightened us on many things, and I think a comprehensive notes on issues related to the emancipation of Dalits and socially marginalized sections of the people, and for that speech, a most valuable speech, we are very much grateful to him. And from our summit session, we express our grateful to him and congratulations to him. Please clap. So now, with us, another dignitary, Sri Aziz Pasha. Now, he will greet us, greet this session. I request Sri Aziz Pasha ji.
मंच पर बैठे हुए साथियों और प्रोफेसर थोरैट जी, लक्ष्मण जी और मेरे साथियों, प्रोफेसर थोरैट साहब की स्पीच के बाद बहुत ही कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्पीच थी। उन्होंने हर पहलू पर रोशनी डाली। आज व्हाट इज़ द नीड ऑफ द आवर, तो हमारा प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन कैसा होना चाहिए, उन्होंने बहुत सारे आंकड़े दिए। उसकी रोशनी में मैं समझता हूँ कि हमारे समिट की तरफ से जो प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन जाएगा, उनके दिए हुए सजेशंस के ऊपर हम जो है ना इंक्लूड करें तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा। मैं सिर्फ एक दो बात इसमें ऐड करना चाहूँगा। जैसा कि उन्होंने कहा कि जो आज अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट का जो मसला है, ये 5 डिकेड्स में इतना बुरा सिचुएशन कभी नहीं है। और ऐसे वक्त के ऊपर खाली ये कहते हुए कि हम रिजर्वेशन गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज में देते हैं, असल 2/3 जो सर्विसेज जो है प्राइवेट सेक्टर पे हैं, उससे डिनाई करना वो बहुत ही बड़ा अन्याय और नाइंसाफ़ी है। वो हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा सवाल है। और इसके साथ साथ प्रोफेसर थोरैट साहब ने जो 3-4 जो बातें रखी हैं, वो भी उसको इंक्लूड करना चाहिए। मैं अपने हद तक कहूँगा कि यूँ तो आर्टिकल 14, 15, 16, 17 ये 4 आर्टिकल्स हैं, राइट टू इक्वालिटी से लेके अनटचेबिलिटी तक। यूँ तो अनटचेबिलिटी ला 1950 में उसको लागू किया गया, मगर मेरा अपना तजुर्बा जो है, जब मैं एज ए स्टूडेंट लीडर जो यहाँ पर बहुत बड़ा फ्यूडल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है हमारा निज़ामाबाद, तो निज़ामाबाद से जो फ़ोन कॉल आया, वो हमारा पूरे आंध्र प्रदेश सोशल फेयर हॉस्टल का प्रेसिडेंट था वो बच्चा। तो बहुत बड़ी स्ट्रगल हमने चलाई। मैं समझता हूँ कि इंडिया के रेयरेस्ट ऑफ द रेयर हो सकता है। एक दिन जब हम हंगर स्ट्राइक का कॉल दिए बोर्डिंग चार्जेस के लिए, तो 30,000 स्टूडेंट, जिसमें ज़्यादा दलित और ओबीसी स्टूडेंट्स हैं, तो उसने मुझे टेलीग्राम दिया, आप फ़ौरन मेरे गांव को आइए। वो निज़ामाबाद आर्मूर डिस्ट्रिक्ट का था, अदरवाइज आई विल जॉइन इन नेक्सलाइट मूवमेंट बोल के टेलीग्राम दिया। तो मैं फ़ौरन, कुछ बात होंगी अर्जेंसी जिसके लिए उन्होंने ऐसा अल्टीमेटम दिया है, तो मैं गया। तो मैं उस वक्त इंशर्ट करके कुछ एयर बैग के साथ जब दाखिल हुआ, कहीं उनके घर को जाने से पहले कई स्ट्रीट्स आ रहे थे, तो लोग जो है अपने अपने पलंग लेके घर के अंदर घुस, पूरे डिजर्टेड स्ट्रीट्स हो गए। मैं परेशान हूँ, क्या हुआ बोल के मैं पूछ रहा हूँ। लोग जो है भागते हुए अपने घरों में चले गए। तो जब मैं उसके घर पे पहुँचा हमारे सोशल वेलफेयर हॉस्टल का जो स्टेट का प्रेसिडेंट था, तो उन्होंने अच्छा हुआ कि मेरे आने से पहले आपने मज़ा चख लिया, आपको पता चल गया यहाँ का ट्रेडिशन है, अगर देशमुख बाहर निकले तो कोई बाहर नहीं ठहरना, घर के अंदर चले जाने। ज़माने में कहते थे हुजूर निज़ाम की सवारी आ रही तो गर्दन झुका के ठहरना, नहीं तो कहीं तो छुप जाना, तो वो हिसाब। तो उसके बाद मैं उनके साथ जो है एक 40-50 गांव जो है ना 2 व्हीलर पर मैं फिरा। मैं बोला कि यूँ तो नाम के लिए अनटचेबिलिटी अबॉलिश है, मगर आप चल के देखिए कितना अनटचेबिलिटी रैम्पेंट है यहाँ पर। कई हमारे MBBS डॉक्टर्स हैं जो होटल में, गांव के होटल में नहीं जा सकते, बाहर से उसको एक गैस के ऊपर से चाय दिया जाता है, वो खुद धो लेना पीना, उसके बाद सबको 10 पैसा है तो इसको 5 पैसा। तो ऐसे कई गांव मैं फिर के देखा। तो क्या यूं तो हमारा कानून पास हो गया, मगर कानून पे अमलावरी नहीं हो। तो ये चीज़ें जो है, इसको देखने के बाद हमको पता चलता है। उस वक्त मैं ऐसा ही आने के बाद हमारे एक सीनियर क्या मोहित सेन, बहुत ही मशहूर इंटेलेक्चुअल, उनसे मैं ये तमाम, तो उन्होंने बोले कि क्यों ना आप है ना इसके बारे में एक आर्टिकल लिखें। तो हमारे जर्नलिस्टों को भी बड़ा ये हो गया कि अभी भी क्या ये वक्त के ऊपर भी, जब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ 1968-69 की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो 1968-69 में तो लोगों ने कहा कि अरे भाई लेट अस गो एंड विजिट ऑल दोज प्लेसेस। वो गांव में, निज़ामाबाद के गांव में जाके देखेंगे रियली ये चल रहा है क्या। वो भरोसा करने के लिए तैयार नहीं थे। तो खैर अब तो इन्हें बात बहुत ये हो चुकी है, मगर अब जो इश्यूज हमारे सामने हैं, एम्प्लॉयमेंट का जो इश्यू है, गुर्बत का, जैसा प्रोफेसर साहब ने कहा कि जब ये कोविड के बाद जो इतनी तरक्की होने के बावजूद भी जो ना गरीबी बढ़ती जा रही है, जब रिपोर्ट है तो उसको सप्रेस कर दिया गया। ये तो आप सप्रेस कर दिए, मगर इंटरनेशनल जो आंकड़े हैं, हंगर इन द वर्ल्ड, इंडिया वेयर इंडिया स्टैंड्स, 107 कंट्री में इंडिया 101 पे है, पाकिस्तान 97 पे है, ताज्जुब की बात है। और जो है ना बांग्लादेश और नेपाल 78-79 है, हम 101 पे। और इसके बावजूद भी कहने को तो बहुत कुछ है। हमारे जो हुक्मरान तबका जो है अपने आप को ये कहता मदर डेमोक्रेसी है, क्या नहीं है पता नहीं है, सब हर किस्म के ना क्लेम किया जाता है। तो आज हमारे सामने चूँकि जो समिट हो रही है उसका एक ही मुद्दा है कि ये जो ऐसा तबका जो हर किस्म से उसके खिलाफ नाइंसाफ़ी हो रही है, तो इस नाइंसाफ़ी को दूर करने के लिए हमको कुछ अफर्मेटिव एक्शंस गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर दबाव डालने के लिए क्या रखना चाहिए। तो ब्लूप्रिंट ऑफ एक्शन इन्होंने रखा और आप लोगों ने भी बहुत कुछ सुझाव दिए होंगे। मैं यही समझता हूँ कि आज है ना तमाम ऑल ओवर इंडिया से कई लोग जो आके इस मामले पर जो रोशनी डाले हैं, और खुद अपने तेलंगाना में भी देखें, हालांकि प्रोफेसर साहब ने कहा 5 एकड़ ज़मीन खाली डिक्लेरेशन है, वो उसके ऊपर अमलावरी नहीं हुई। उसका अगर इम्प्लीमेंटेशन देखें तो मैं समझता हूँ कि 10% भी नहीं हुआ। स्कीम्स हैं अच्छे, उसके ऊपर अगर सिंसियरली इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाए तो ये पॉवर्टी एलिविएशन चल जा सकता है, और पॉवर्टी के जो मुख्तलिफ जो ये हैं उसको दूर किया जा सकता है। तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम और पॉजिटिव अफर्मेटिव एक्शंस की ज़रूरत है। बस मैं यही कहते हुए भारत हिंदुस्तानी कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से आप तमाम लोगों को, अब तो हम फैग एंड ऑफ डिस्कशन में हैं, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि जो निर्णय फैसले होंगे उस फैसले को आने वाले दिनों में हम जो है ना इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहिए, ताकि जो सबसे मोस्ट सप्रेस्ड हैं अपने सोसाइटी में, उनको उभारने के लिए जब तक हम नहीं करेंगे तो हम कोई है ना किसी किस्म का इंसाफ है ना इस समाज से नहीं कर सकते। यही कहते हुए मैं अपनी बात ख़त्म करता हूँ। धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
थैंक यू श्री पासा जी। नाउ we have one delegate, Mr. Vinay Kumar, S. Vinay Kumar. He is an ex-editor and senior journalist. Secretary Sundaraya Vigyan Kendram. Now he will.
Friends and comrades, I wanted to make some proposals to the friends and comrades. I have some addings to our action plan, that item number 16 of the action plan, where intercaste marriages are mentioned in that point. What I suggest is Government of India providing some incentive to people who got intercaste marriages. But it is limited. Only 500 marriages they are giving incentives. This is very ridiculous to put a limit on the intercaste marriages. 500 marriages only will be given incentive. That means only one person, one couple from a district may get even not that. So the number of districts is more than the 500. So that limitation should be removed. Whoever got intercaste marriages, they should be given incentive. That is one thing. Then another thing is they should raise the incentive also. Another thing is that there should be an act to give protection to the intercaste couple. That is very much necessary today. We have seen so many honor killings nowadays. There is no honor. It is not a killing also. It is murder. It is cold-blooded murder. It is not killing. And there is no honor at all. Why should they name it as honor killing? That word should be immediately withdrawn. There should be some harsh word instead of that honor killing word. Then state governments also giving some incentives, but there are number of applications pending with the government. They are taking no action on that. They are not releasing any incentives to the couples. So we should demand that all the state governments should release the amounts to all those people whose applications are pending for incentive for the intercaste marriages. And another thing is, what I say is, for a better society, we should ask the government to include this incentive policy to OBCs also, of course with a income ceiling, but it should be extended to OBCs also. This intercaste incentive should be extended to them. Thank you.
Dr. Bikram Singh will move the discussion points.
President and friends, we had a long discussion. I think more than some 70 people participated in the discussion, and many people left. But let me tell you that I've not seen these lengthy discussion till now. That's 70 people, 73 people means a lot, means more. It was a very inclusive discussion. And it could have been very better that if Professor Sukhdev have spoken on the first day. That gave us that was the crux of our discussion. Basically, all the points he covered and all the suggestions of the delegates who spoke will be incorporated in the draft. There is no dearth of issues, no dearth of suggestions. various issues. Our suggestion is that we will be trying to, they will be in the main draft, but as I think Venkat already proposed state conventions, so there is also a proposal to have more inclusive demand charters, approach papers in the states also, so that more of the state specific demands can be incorporated in the state chapters and more struggles can be there. This is the first thing. But the main crux of the our approach paper, or what you call this chart agenda of the Dalit, very specifically many participants spoke that we have to hit the root cause, and that is the Brahminical understanding that the Manusmriti, the thought of Manusmriti, that Manuvad, that is welcome. Basically, it's a two-pronged fight. First, the root cause, because we are experiencing, you people were telling that caste was there, caste for many long time, as Professor Sudev thought, but in the last 9 years, it has become more strong, more strengthened, and it is coming in various forms and more aggressive because it is a protection from the state. They are not only protecting, they are in fact propagating it, because it's the ideology of Manusmriti which essentially strengthen the Varna system presently, which is caste system. So two-pronged strategy is there. I was very happy a former UC chairperson was talking against his privatization of education. It's very I was a student during those days. So basically this shows a thing, that first this ideological struggle against Manuvad, Manusmriti, Brahminical pattern, Brahminical system. Without that, very rightly he said that we have to fight for annihilation of caste. These things are fine, there's laws, these schemes, but annihilation of caste, our fight against caste. The second thing, how these neo-economic liberal policies are impacting the lives of Dalits. All things came, this withering of social welfare state, this weakening of this web of social welfare schemes, right from food security to employment, to education, to health, even these old age pensions, and all these schemes, these are being weakening. So these are issues basically. So economic as well as this ideological struggle has to be there. That will be part of our this agenda of Dalit. From Presidium and from our side, there's a humble appeal that we have taken a task to go to 1 crore people to have their signatures. But how to go to them? Of course, on the issues, they will be coming on the issues, but to propagate the overall understanding of caste, its roots, and how to fight against it, and various means which are suggested by Thorat and other people, that campaign has to be taken to them. They are aware about it, but we have to unite them on issues and on this ideological pattern. I hope that this summit will be adopting, with these suggestions, they will be adopting the this agenda for the Dalits, which will not be agenda for 24 or 2050. This is agenda for India, which will be inclusive, which will be having egalitarian society, and caste. Instead of strengthening caste identities, we will be going to annihilate this caste. With this understanding, this summit should be concluded and it should adopt the agenda paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bikram. Now, Sathi Dhirendra Jha, he will supplement on the points raised in course of discussion on the concept papers and future programs.
अध्यक्ष मंडल के साथीगण, प्रोफेसर थोराट साहब, 2 दिनों का जो ये समिट रहा है, मुझे लगता है कि बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का जो सपना था और शहीद आजम भगत सिंह का जो सपना था कि हमको एक समता मूलक समाज बनाना है, उसके बहुत सारे आयामों को हम लोगों ने यहाँ विस्तार से चर्चा की है। प्रोफेसर थोराट साहब ने तो मुझे लगता है कि एक हिस्टोरिकल कंटेक्स्ट में आज का जो चैलेंजेज है उसको बहुत विस्तार से हम लोगों के सामने उन्होंने रखा और उन्होंने लेफ्ट मूवमेंट की ओर भी इशारा किया। मैं उनके वक्तव्य का सैल्यूट करता हूं कि निश्चित रूप से हिंदुस्तान के वामपंथी आंदोलन के इतिहास में जाति के प्रश्न को, सामाजिक उत्पीड़न के प्रश्न को, इस पर हम लड़ते तो रहे, लेकिन थ्योरेटिकली कास्ट क्लास क्वेश्चन को हम कैसे एक ग्रेटर पर्सपेक्टिव में कैसे हम इंटीग्रेट करके आगे बढ़ें, ये पहलू हमारा कमज़ोर रहा है। और आज हिंदुस्तान का जो कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन है इन पहलुओं को अपने भीतर समेट रहा है और इसको आगे बढ़ाने की दिशा में बढ़ रहा है। और शुरुआती वक्तव्य जो आया था प्रोफेसर माधवन जी का, ये रिटायर्ड अधिकारी रहे हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि हिंदुस्तान में ये एक ब्रिज होना चाहिए। ये जो एक माने थाउजेंड्स ऑफ एक्टिविस्ट, थाउजेंड्स ऑफ मूवमेंट्स जो दलित ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस की ओर से, दलित इंडिविजुअल्स की ओर से, प्रोग्रेसिव इंडिविजुअल्स की ओर से चल रहे हैं, लेफ्ट पार्टीज़ की ओर से भी चल रहे हैं, इसके बीच में यदि एक बड़ा सेतु बनता है तो मुझे लगता है कि बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का ये जो सपना था, वी हैव टू एनहिलेट द कास्ट, कास्ट को उच्छेद किए बिना, कास्ट को सर्वविनाश किए बिना, वर्णाश्रम के ढांचा को तोड़े बिना, माइंडसेट की बात भी डॉक्टर अम्बेडकर ने कहा है कि ये तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें बदल जाएंगी, लेकिन ये हिंदू सेट ऑफ माइंड जो है वो जब तक नहीं बदलेगा तब तक मुकम्मल बदलाव नहीं आएगा। तो ये जो एक पूरा संदर्भ है, इस पूरे संदर्भ को समेटते हुए मुझे तो लगता है कि एक समिट एक हिस्टोरिक समिट के रूप में इतिहास में जाना जाएगा और हम सब लोग इस दिशा में आगे बढ़ेंगे। एक बात मैं जो कहना चाहूँगा कि फासिज्म के इस दौर में हमारा ये समिट हो रहा है। फासिज्म के इस दौर में जो कुछ भी हमने हासिल किया है, संघर्षों के जरिए हासिल किया है, चौतरफा हमला हो रहा है, सारे चीज़ों को तहस नहस किया जा रहा है। संविधान रहेगा या नहीं रहेगा, ये सवाल सेंट्रल प्रश्न बन गया है। इसलिए तमाम लोगों को एकताबद्ध होकर के हमारा जो अधिकार रहा है, हम अपने अधिकार को जो एक्सपेंड करना चाहते हैं उसको भी लेकर के एक बड़े आंदोलन में हम लोगों को आगे आना पड़ेगा और फासिज्म को परास्त करके एक रिकंस्ट्रक्ट, एक नया इंडिया रिकंस्ट्रक्ट, क्योंकि उन्होंने बहुत बर्बाद कर दिया है, ऐसा बर्बाद किया है कि इसका दंश कहिए दशकों तक हिंदुस्तान को झेलना पड़ेगा। इसलिए ये जो एक बड़ा संदर्भ है, इस पूरे संदर्भ को भी हम तमाम साथियों को अपने भीतर आत्मसात करना होगा, अपने आंदोलनों में भी उस आइडियोलॉजिकल प्रश्नों को भी उठाना पड़ेगा। थोराट साहब ने उसके आइडियोलॉजिकल डायमेंशन को विभिन्न रूपों में सामने लाया है। मैं तो बहुत इनलाइटेंड फील किया कि इस कन्वेंशन समिट के जरिए एक बहुत सारा हम लोग का भी परिप्रेक्ष्य का एक होराइजन जो है बड़े स्तर पर बढ़ा है। और हमारे वेंकटेश साहब ने जो इस कन्वेंशन को लेकर के आगे की एक कार्य योजना आप लोगों के सामने रखा है, मुझे लगता है उस दिशा में यदि हम बढ़ेंगे, क्योंकि हमको राज्यों में इसी तरह के और भी इंक्लूसिव हमको कन्वेंशंस करने हैं जिसमें तमाम तरह के अन्य संगठनों को भी, अन्य इंडिविजुअल्स को भी, जो लोग यहाँ तक नहीं आएंगे उन तमाम लोगों को जोड़ते हुए राज्यों में हम और बड़े विस्तार का एक कन्वेंशन आयोजित करेंगे। 1 करोड़ लोगों का हम सिग्नेचर इकट्ठा करेंगे और दिल्ली में एक बड़ी संख्या में लामबंदी के जरिए एक दिल्ली से हम एक डिक्लेरेशन की जारी करेंगे जो 2024 के लिए भी निर्णायक होगा और 2050 का जो हमारा एजेंडा है, एक नया भारत के एजेंडा है, उसको भी आगे बढ़ाएगा। इन्हीं बातों के साथ मैं अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूँ। इनकलाब जिंदाबाद, जय भीम, लाल सलाम।
So now we are approaching to the concluding part of our summit. So after long discussion and deliberations. About 73 participants from yesterday till now. So many important suggestions, inputs have come up, about which from the reception committee our two friends Dr. Bikram Singh and Satidrendra Jaji ने आपका पास रखा on the concept paper which was presented yesterday before you. Now, with the suggestion of incorporations, with the valuable inputs and suggestions given by the honorable delegates, now it is our duty to adopt that concept paper and simultaneously on the basis of this concept papers our operational part, that is future program of action, which have been put forward here by Sathi B. Venkat. So I am putting together those who are in favor of the concept paper with incorporation of your suggestions and inputs by the reception committee and the future program. You raise your hand. Anybody against this proposal? Anybody neutral? So, it is a historic occasion that our National Dalit Summit 2023, this historic session adopted the concept paper and the future program of action unanimously. So now, two more tasks is before us. One is for coordination of the future programs. Reception committee has mooted that a national level movement coordination body should be there. So now on that issue, Sathi V.S. Nirmal will move that proposal before you. I request Sathi Nirmal ji to put forward this issue.
अध्यक्ष मंडल के साथियों और साथियों, नेशनल दलित समिट कल शुरू हुआ और आज हम समापन की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं। आपने 2 दिन जो डिस्कशन किया कंसेप्ट पेपर को लेकर और दलितों से संबंधित विभिन्न समस्याओं पर जो अपने विचार रखे, और जो प्रोग्राम्स भी आपके सामने फ्यूचर टास्क के रूप में आए, इन सबको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए और इन्हें अमली जामा पहनाने के लिए एक बॉडी की ज़रूरत है। आप उसे कोऑर्डिनेशन बॉडी कह सकते हैं, कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी कह सकते हैं, और जो नाम चाहे वो बाद में ये लोग बैठेंगे, जो मैं आपके सामने नाम प्रपोज करूँगा, तय करेंगे कि इसका क्या बेहतर नाम हो सकता है जो आगे इस कारवां को ले जा सके। ये समिट सिर्फ आज तक के लिए या दिल्ली में होने वाले प्रोग्राम तक के लिए ही सीमित नहीं है। ये जो बॉडी होगी ये समय समय पर बैठेगी, प्रोग्राम लेगी, आप सबको बताएगी और आगे के प्रोग्राम तय करके उनको भी अमली जामा पहनाया जाएगा। मैं आपके सामने जो इसके अंदर सदस्य होंगे उनके नाम लेने जा रहा हूँ। मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूँ और जिन साथियों के नाम हैं उनसे ये प्रार्थना या रिक्वेस्ट भी करता हूँ कि मैं जिनके नाम लूँ वो कृपया खड़े होकर आपके सामने अपना परिचय इस रूप में दें कि आप उन्हें पहचान सकें। तो मेरे नाम लेने के साथ वो खड़े होंगे और आप उन्हें तालियां बजा के सपोर्ट करेंगे। पहला नाम है श्री मल्लापल्ली लक्ष्मैया। श्री रामचंद्र डोम, फॉर्मर मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट। नेक्स्ट है वीएस निर्मल, मैं ही हूँ। नेक्स्ट श्री धीरेन्द्र झा। नेक्स्ट श्री गुलजार सिंह गोरिया। नेक्स्ट डॉक्टर विक्रम सिंह, डॉक्टर विक्रम सिंह। एंड श्री कर्नल सिंह इकलाहा। श्री बी वेंकट। एक साथी हैं श्री साई बालाजी, वो हमारे बीच में हैं। श्री साई बालाजी अच्छा हैं। एंड लास्ट श्रीमती बीना पल्लीकल। श्रीमती बीना पल्लीकल हैं? नहीं आई? अच्छा, आए हैं। आगे आ जाओ। कम ऑन डैश। बिना पल्ली। साथियों, ये 10 मेंबर्स कमेटी है। ये समय समय पर मिलेगी। इन प्रोग्राम्स के बीच में भी जो अभी आपके सामने यहाँ अनाउंस हुए और इसके बाद भी ये कमेटी आपके सामने है और आपने क्लैपिंग करके इसको पास किया है। ये आपके
So I think the proposal for a national coordination, movement coordination body, I think that is the better term, as proposed by V.S. Nirmalji. I think you have consensus on this issue. So is it necessary to take the vote of the House? It's not necessary. Okay. Then the proposed national movement coordination body is approved by the consensus of the House. Yeah. And now, at the end, that is most important issue, very sensitive issue, which you have pointed out during your course of deliberation. That is on Manipur issue. So, a resolution should be moved from this summit on the most atrocious issues on Manipur. So I am formally moving from the Presidium this resolution for your consideration. So resolution on the horrific, atrocious situations in Manipur. The National Dalit Summit 2023 at Hyderabad is expressing its grave concern on the Manipur, regarding the horrific atrocity in Manipur against two tribal women of striping, parading and gang rape of one of them, along with the murder of two family members who tried to save her. It has outraged the whole country. The BJP government of Manipur is directly implicated in providing impunity to the perpetrators of this atrocity, as its police took no action, even though the FIR was lodged with tremendous courage by the victims' families within 2 weeks of the incident. Long time have passed, but the state is still burning. Already the activities of the Chief Minister and state government has been defended by the top BJP leadership and the central government. The Prime Minister's statement, after months of defending silence, trivialized the incident, the enormity of the violence in Manipur, and also the partisan role of the Chief Minister. The principal accountability has been buried deep by the double-engine government. It is the most graphic commentary on the claim of good governance by the BJP. The National Dalit Summit condemns these ghastly incidents and demands the immediate resignation of the Chief Minister of Manipur. It calls upon all Dalits to raise the demand across the country in protest actions in solidarity with people of the Manipur. The National Dalit Summit, expressing its indignation at the fact that for over near about 4 months now the ethnic conflict with communal dimensions in Manipur is raging, leaving hundreds dead, tens of thousands displaced, and surviving in relief camps under inhuman conditions. The culpability of the state government is clear enough. The silence of Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi and the ineffective central government's intervention so far suggests complicity in allowing the situation to slide into greater anarchy and mayhem. Pradhan Mantri Modiji has chosen to abdicate the responsibility of being accountable to Parliament even, which has resulted in the total disruption of parliamentary proceedings. The spreading of Manipur conflict to the nearby states in the northeast has very serious consequences. The National Dalit Summit at Hyderabad demands that, as the first steps in the direction of restoring normalcy and peace, Chief Minister Biren Singh must go. This is the text of the resolution. So I am putting before you, and this resolution will be seconded by our Sathi Colonel Singh ji from the Presidium.
नेशनल दलित समिति की तरफ से रामाचंद्र डोम की तरफ से जो मणिपुर हिंसा और अनमुखी जो घटनाएं वापरी हैं उन पर जो लाया गया रेजोल्यूशन है, हम उनका समर्थन करते हैं। धन्यवाद।
So, I think the Manipur resolution which has been put before you, I think it has the consensus of the House. So, this resolution has been adopted unanimously. Now, Sri Lakshmaya ji will have some proposal behind you. I request Mr. Lakshmaya ji to come to the dais.
Thank you, Ramchandra ji. I move resolution on our beloved singer, revolutionary poet, Comrade Gadar demise. Gadar belongs to Telangana. He born in Medak district in Tupran village. There are many artists and poets across the country. You have countless sacrifices. Through these sacrifices, they have breathed life into many revolutionary movements. But Gadar's life and contribution to the revolutionary movements stands still among us them. Music exuded from the soul and person's Gadar. His involvement in Telangana folk music created an entire style of performance that was none like any other. Before his time of revolutionary singer who is known and loved by many, he was a stranger to the art itself, having spent his younger days in the rural Telangana. Then his songs that were sung on behalf of the people who are unheard still to these days inspire countless people. Over 25 years of working for the revolution and living for 10 whole years underground in the 1980 joined the people again, decided to become the voice of people. His contribution to the people movement and unparalleled, and he had since then cemented his place in the hearts of the people, the unheard and unsung members of the struggle. He had seen many ups and downs and problems in his political life, but he never stepped down from being a representative of the poor and the weaker sections. Though
He has now left his physical body. His contribution and his work with us is unforgettable contribution to the field of revolutionary cultural movement and revolutionary people's movements. He is inspired many of us in future also. His work is very, very unforgotten and remarkable. Please have a 1 minute to stand and give. Johar Gadar. Johar Gadar. Thank you. Now I requested these committee members to come and dais. Please, one. Please, sir. Please, visit. Sir Nirmal ji, please come.
Sir, cell phone, sir. Sir. भैया फोन सर కూర్చోండి సెల్ ఫోన్ జై భీమ్ జై భీమ్ సార్ జై భీమ్ జై భీమ్ జై భీమ్ లాల్ సలాం జై భీమ్ లాల్ సలాం జై భీమ్ లాల్ సలాం జై భీమ్ లాల్ సలాం
Sir, please sit 1 minute. Please sit 1 minute. We will. I think already have a agenda and action program. I think we have to prepare for state conventions, each state, and prepare our agenda in the state, particular state specific. Another Chalo Parliament, December 4th. December 4th we have to go Parliament. Chalo Parliament. Chalo Parliament. December 4th. Chalo Parliament. December 4th. December 4th. December 4th. December 4th. Jai Bhim Lal Salam. Jai Bhim Lal Salam. Chalo Chalo Parliament. December 4th. Chalo Parliament. December 4th. December 4th. December 4th. Thank you. Jai Bhim Lal Salam.